Hello, everyone, and welcome to Soul Simple Life Shifts. Today, I'm going to go ahead and combine several different life shifts into one video because I think it will be more impactful that way. So I'll try to keep this relatively, like, not huge, like an hour long or anything, and I'll try to be succinct. But I really want to invite you to come back to this one because it's super important. It is perhaps the most you get the most bang for the buck when you actually really embrace this one fully, and there are lots of different levels to it. So what we're going to talk about today is essentially our locus of power and authority, and it really goes back to from the inside out versus from the outside in, so internal versus external. So let's look at a couple of shifts within this larger topic of locus of power and authority, or locus of control, like how we see that we can move things forward in our lives. Where do we have power? Where do we have authority? And this is a really big decision. To decide means to cut off other choices, and this is one where how we begin, the belief we begin with in anything in terms of this, where is the locus of our power and authority? Is it within us? Is it outside of us? That is going to determine so much of how things go. So let me put my glasses on and I'm going to read through some of the different shifts. So one shift here is an external, how we've done it before, an external locus of control to an internal locus of control. Look to outside rulers, to looking to the sovereignty that we have within, beginning there. It's not to say that there aren't outside authorities. It's the point of beginning, the point, where do you start, right? And then where do you go? And if you trace this out, and I really want to invite you to do this in your journal or something, like pick a situation and just play it out. Okay, if I believe I have internal authority or some measure of power I can bring to a situation, and then play it out how it might go, given that there are external authorities as well. Then I want you to do the opposite. I believe I'm powerless. I begin with the external authority or ruler, or governmental body, or belief system, anything like that, and then trace it out and see where that takes you. And I really want to come back and develop a tool around this, so I'm going to work on that. So so far we have external locus of control to internal, and sovereignty. Look to outside rulers again, versus the sovereignty within, being the whole new way forward together. Another one example is when we seek enlightenment from masters. Those, and again, not to say that there aren't spiritual masters or in any other realm, experts. There are, but the way we've always done it is to start there, versus understanding that we are masters, have been, are becoming, and are, because past, present, and future are, it's a spiral, right? And it's all kind of happening at once. So it's just the perspective of how you are approaching things. It's not to say it's not an either or. So that one was seek enlightenment from outside masters and understand that we are the masters. External authority versus inner intelligence, which includes and encompasses the idea of intuition or intuitive knowing. And it also includes, your body, your mind, your heart, your spirit, versus simply looking to external sources to provide information. We are in formation all the time, and that is information. We are being informed, formed from within, and that itself affords us some measure of something to work with, and authority. We are the author of our lives, so we can choose what we do with that, right? What are we doing with what's happening in there? So a lot of people, myself included at times, just ignore that entirely, and it's all about external everything, external validation, external, where are the rules, what do I need to do, just tell me like how to stay in line, and so that's the movement, that's the shift. External authority to inner intelligence, outside in approach versus an inside out approach, and then prioritization of what needs to happen first in our lives and why, based on the way we've done it before, is based on external demand. The email inbox, the rules, the family unspoken rules, the societal expectations, etc., etc. So are we going to prioritize by those things, or are we going to prioritize according to, again, that information within us, those internal desires, internal nudges, or other sorts of sensations and knowing in our body, heart, and mind? Again, not to say that you should just follow those impulses or the instinct all the time, but are we going to consider them? And where are we going to start? Again, it's about where do we start. So all of those things I mentioned, a lot of it's about where's your power, where's your authority, where are we beginning? And then also about your orientation, like, that outside in versus inside out. Like where do you begin and where are you focused primarily? And then priorities. How are we going to prioritize what's important in our lives? So, I don't actually have one particular Soul Simple life practice here. There are so many, and what I really want to say here is that this takes concentrated attention. It's a slow process of reorienting yourself to the worlds within you, at least considering that, right, in addition to all these external things that pull at us. So journaling can be a really, really powerful tool with this one. So I want to mention that as a primary. And I also think that if you can come up with a, sort of a mantra or a short statement that can pull you back to, or maybe like, all right, take an index card and write on it inside out, or what is my body telling me? What is my heart telling me? What is my mind telling me? What is my spirit telling me? Those are the 4 that I use. And really, to me, it's when I say your soul's truth and radiance, your star power, that sort of is encompassing all of that. Not that the soul is the body or that it, is mental, but I believe that we're given these bodies, these minds. We come here with the capacity, most of us anyway, to connect to spirit, and our emotions are an internal guidance system, and all of this together, again, provides inputs or information, and it's an attunement practice to begin to cultivate what is within you, to begin within, as opposed to starting with a long list of things we have to do, or that we tell ourselves we have to do. And again, not to say there aren't things that need to be tended to externally, there are, but it's about the nuance of it and like how you approach things. So I want you just to think about, where is my power and my authority in any given situation? How am I looking at this thing in my life that I'm examining, my career and my trajectory in my work and what I really want to bring forward in the future? How am I examining that? Am I looking at my list of 40 things that I want to do and how much time it's going to take and how I have to report to this person and I have to get this thing done for this client and I have to. Or are we beginning with, my desire is to make a contribution, and I really want to do that in such a way that I infuse all of who I am in this thing, and I rise to a level of excellence that allows me to make a contribution that is going to be lasting in this particular avenue. And I know that I can do that in a way that no one else has, in terms of my own gifts, talents, the way I see the world, the specific training that I have taken the time to invest in. So see the difference there of how there's more of a rootedness or a groundedness. And in terms of power and authority, and particularly the power piece for me, I'll speak for myself, there can be a very slow, it's interesting that I almost said soul, because it really will kill your soul. If you continue down that external only pathway for too long, number one, you'll burn out quickly and you won't be replenished or nourished from within, because you're really never tapping in to that inner sense of empowerment. And your energy gets dispersed because there's always going to be another external thing that we're feeling pulled by. And so if you think about that, if you're pulled in all these directions and you have no center, you have no rootedness in yourself, you're definitely going to feel disempowered, fragmented, scattered, overwhelmed, and whipped around like whiplash all the time. And I've been there, and I'm sure many of you have as well. So all I want to do today is leave you with that invitation to really consider that, and wherever your focus is right now in your life, like maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a work situation like I mentioned, maybe it's your vision for what you want your life to be like, maybe it's your relationship with your children, or leaving a legacy, or maybe it is your creative practice. Wherever your focus is just right now, and continue to do this and revisit this idea in the future, consider, how can I shift my view of being like beholden to all of these external things, and how can I take an inside out approach that begins where I begin within, and I really consider what it is I want to bring forward, and how I can remain rooted even in responding as is needed to the external, requirements or demands. How can I remain rooted first within myself? How can I feel a sense of empowerment to rise up within that power into a realm of radiance in whatever sphere or domain or realm of life we're considering here? How can I bring more of me forward? And how can I see that actually I do have a lot of choices? I can stand in my integrity, in my power, in my authenticity. And I can do that in such a way that I understand, even if there are, a series of things that must be done externally, I can understand that my center, the center of my gravity, is within me, and I can always begin there. Doesn't mean you're going to go around in all situations speaking that, but it does mean that you are intentional about how you see things, about the perspective you are bringing. And in a lot of these videos, you'll notice that's really what it comes down to. Your point of view, your perspective. It comes down to, how are you going to choose to see? Who are you going to choose to be in a certain situation? And then how will you actually do the things that are required to set you free within any given situation, circumstance, or desired creation or outcome? So I'm going to leave it there. I would invite you to journal on that to begin, and I will come back around and add a tool in the future to this video, or at least link to something in the future. So that's it for today. Just really consider that the locus of power and authority in your life, and encourage others to do the same. Maybe not, with those words, but, especially with children, because we lose this. This is where this happens. We lose this, most of us, when we are very young, and we know it intuitively. Think about that. Most of us, even those of us who had a lot of trauma, and I did, we can remember times when you just knew that you came in. We're born with that, some sense, most of us, with some sense of knowing we are more than just something that, a robot that's meant to react and respond to external inputs or commands. I think this is going to be more and more important as we move into the coming years. I'm recording this in 2026, and I feel like the period now through about 2030 or so anyway, it's going to be essential for us collectively to master this. And in order to do that collectively, we need to make this shift internally, each one of us, and step into our empowerment in everyday moments and situations. And it's not easy. I've been seeking to do this for at least 20 years now. And there are days where I catch myself and I'm like, oh, I've just been responding to things, going through these motions, and I have not taken the time to really, really root into who I am, the whole of who I am, my whole self and my soul self, to remind myself that my soul's truth and radiance, that star power within me, that matters here in this situation, whatever it is, and that I can choose to remain anchored there to the light and the life and the love that I am, and to know that to know that there is some measure of empowerment that I can step into that resides right here within me. And for those of us for whom faith is important, or spiritual or religious convictions of any kind, there is that as well. There is that flow, and I would say the energy of life as well that is flowing through us. And that's another part of this, because that does not come. That's not given to us, like fed to us. There are certainly systems that will want us to believe that's the case, but that does not come from the outside in. That comes from the inside out.